Gonsalves.
Hey, hello,
Welcome, man. Good to see you, dude.
Thank you. Well, here we are. Hey, gang, how's it going? I always admire the folks who can stick around to the very end. You are my people, because I am one of the same. I close it down no matter where I am.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it be a convention, a bar, or...
Last to leave. I'm always the Irish goodbye type of person. I always like to just like abracadabra and just vanish without saying goodbye to anybody. That's my exit style.
Not the best way to make friends, or keep friends, I should say.
I don't know. I guess they keep me around anyway. I like the Star Wars sweatshirt. First of all, that's awesome. I'm
Thank
loving
you.
that. Yeah.
I have a loom in my basement, and I can't, no.
But you a big Star Wars fan?
Yeah, of course.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, my whole house is like decorated Star Wars. Got a million Grogus all over my house. Pop heads. Do you collect anything? Are you a collectible?
I do. I collect not Star Wars stuff. I collect oddities. I collect, this is silly, I'm sorry, but human remains.
Really?
Yep. Not dug up human, but like, skeletons, skulls, mummified things, wet specimens. And I collect Disney pins, enamel pins.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're a big Disney fan.
Yeah. Those two worlds go together, believe it or not. Disney pins and skulls.
And dead bodies, yeah.
Dead bodies. But that's about it for my collecting. Yeah.
I was going to ask you in regards to Disney, are there any places about Disney that are known to be haunted or any horror stories related to Disney? Any paranormal stories?
Yeah, there are a lot of places on property that they claim to be haunted. Who knows? I was very fortunate. There's I know nobody's here to talk about Disney, excuse me. But there's a ride there, fittingly called the Haunted Mansion, right? And they were very kind once to, in a strange way, shut the ride down. And I got to ride it by myself and go on and do all this stuff. And they took me around and showed me all the places that are supposedly haunted. And anybody else out there a Disney fan at all? Okay, good. Who said that? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Well, the rumors are true, because everybody has heard the stories that people have their ashes dumped at the Haunted Mansion, sprinkled around.
Oh, wow.
And that's true. I got that confirmed by a gentleman named Bob Gurr, who's a Disney Imagineer. Used to be. He's actually the last living person that ever worked with Walt himself, so it was really awesome. But he told me, he said, yeah, that is true. And not only is that true, he said the first time they ever experienced it, they thought it was like drywall powder from like a repair or something, and it wasn't. And so he said once they realized what it was, they had to build a special hazmat vacuum to like suck up all the human ash everywhere. And he said the first time they built it, they were like trying to get it to work and trying to dump it, and it couldn't dump. And he said he was looking over it, and it all went back up into his face.
No.
And he inhaled a whole bunch of like human ash and remains, and better him than me.
Could that have any effect on him? I mean, being an expert in the paranormal,
Yeah,
to get him to like have him like not be possessed or maybe even like be haunted by these ashes or the people who the ashes were from?
I don't think so. Maybe. I just can't imagine somebody being that mad about it. Like, you're gonna inhale me on accident, you motherfucker! Like excuse me. I just can't. He is dressed up like Chucky. He probably doesn't care much. He's like, you should hear what I got on deck. What I'm gonna say. Yeah, I would find that very unlikely, but who knows?
Yeah.
You never know. Yeah.
Well, I asked because, a lot of people have superstitions about how to become in contact with ghosts and paranormal activity. I know we were speaking briefly the other night, and you were talking about how some people like to take sage and kind of disinfect an area, so to speak. What are some of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to the paranormal activity?
I think paranormal misconceptions in paranormal. There are a lot, I would say. A few that stick out would be something like that. There are a lot of people who love, sage and smudging and all of that, and that there could be some validity to that. A lot of people I love and trust do that, but for me, I just can't imagine, a ghost, a spirit, an energy, or anything like being in a place and just going like, is that sage? I got to get out of here. Like this, what? Like I just can't imagine a world where that. And it very well may be because, I'm one person of many, and there are investigators who really hold that true. But to me, I just don't. So I think that the fact that there are demons everywhere,
Yeah.
and that demons are going to possess you, and every demonologist I know and have known, from Ed Warren to Adam Bly to John Zaffis to everybody, an actual demonic haunting, if even possible, is maybe once every 20 years or so. I think that is kind of, a lot of people think they're going to run into some really dark stuff, and that's probably not really happening. Again, I find that if you are all ethereal and can traverse time and space, and you are straight from Satan himself,
Yeah.
are you really going to come here and, like, I don't know, make it a little warmer in this room for a person, or like slam the door or whisper "get out" into the recorder?
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like you would, like, you're all powerful. You come from the devil himself. You have traversed time, space. You're ethereal, corporeal, all of that, and all you're doing is like saying "get out" in this recorder. So to me, that I think is a little. Do those things happen? Yeah, for sure. But to say it's always a demon, that doesn't make sense to me.
Okay.
And then one more that comes to mind would be that, like, haunted house, living in one, going to them is like really awesome. It is for the investigators, but people who are really living in like a true haunted house, they have a hard time maintaining relationships, friendships. They have a hard time maintaining a career. It really changes their life, usually for not the better. It's more like, this sounds silly, but everybody's seen the movie Poltergeist, right?
Yeah.
Great movie, awesome movie, God have mercy, great movie. And it sounds silly, but it's almost a little more like that. In the beginning of the movie, the dad, he has a great job. He's having fun with his friends. They're watching the game. The kids are having a blast. The daughter's going out with her boyfriend. Him and his wife have a great relationship. They're having fun. They're smoking things they shouldn't be in the bedroom, doing all, they're having fun. 20 minutes into the movie, he hasn't changed out of his robe. He hasn't shaved. He's lost his job. 35 minutes, 40 minutes into the movie, him and his wife are fighting all the time. One daughter is moved out, and the kid, got eaten by a tree. Like, it's really, minus the tree part, like, it really is a little more, damaging to the family. Where if you get caught up in the television shows, which I make them, so I'm part of that, but in some of the other things, it does seem like, a lot of people like, welcome to our haunted house, hello. And it's not really like that.
Yeah.
So I think, I'd say those are some misnomers or some tropes that could be dispelled a little bit.
All right. Well, I know you have like a fascination with demons, and you did speak about them briefly. I wanted to know if we want to like try to clarify things, if you don't mind. Like, what is a demon, and also when it comes to studying demons, what are the signs that somebody should look for in a demon?
Wow. I mean, if we're going straight down that route,
Yeah.
I mean, a demon, to anybody who has any faith, would be just what you think.
Okay.
A soldier from the devil who is here to make your life miserable and to drive the living off of a cliff or whatever it should be. If you're not religious, if you have no faith in those sort of things, you could think of a demon as, an energy that is not earthbound, is ethereal, and can traverse through time and space with some negative intentions.
Okay.
Or, personally, and I tend to think sometimes that if we're dealing with human hauntings, if you're a bit of an a-hole in life, you may still be in death, wow. And that could be what some people could even consider a demon.
Yeah.
So it could mean different to different people, but if you're saying a demon, that is what it is. And when it comes to that dark side of things, we will investigate it. I will investigate it, and we do. But we always call in backup.
Yeah.
It's not my world to. I'm not that comfortable in it. We call upon the clergy, upon the church, and I am a Christian. I may listen to black metal, death metal, be obsessed with horror movies, and collect dead people. but I am a Christ-loving. You know,
Gotcha. Yeah.
both worlds can exist.
Yeah. And I guess you got to call in the troops, the backup.
We do, and I tell you what, there was a gentleman named Reverend Billy Bean. We had a case once that was really, really negative and dark, and quite honestly, the camera crew, right? They don't necessarily believe in ghosts. A lot of them. We have had a sound guy that's been with us since the very first season. He still doesn't believe in ghosts, you know. So not everybody has to. And when they have those experiences, it really messes them up.
Yeah.
You know, they get quite startled. Some people quit. They don't come back. They don't want to mess with it. But for us, it's all fun. Yeah.
Well, yeah. You've been doing this a long time. When did your, beginnings into like the paranormal begin for you? Was it a movie? Was it a TV show? Was it an experience that you personally had that made you want to delve deeper into the world of investigating the paranormal?
Yes. I started off being afraid of it, right? When I was really young, I saw a movie called The Entity. Great movie. Horror fans out there, right? Yeah, called The Entity. Great movie, but I wasn't supposed to be watching it. I was like, 6 years old maybe, or 7. So I'm watching it and started crying because it's terrifying. My mom came in. She's like, what are you watching? You're crazy. And she told me it was make-believe. And then I saw it said, based on a true story.
Oof.
And ever since then, I just started reading about it and really soaking it up. And then at about 12 or 13 years old, I started having my parents drop me off at different places that I knew paranormal investigators were speaking. Back then, it wasn't everywhere. It was the only people you could really go see were Ed and Lorraine Warren from the Conjuring and that world. And so I would go see them talk, and then I had a great opportunity when I was like 16, very young. They must have thought I was over 18, I don't know, to actually investigate with Ed and Lorraine Warren. And then when I was 18, started my own team. And then I started working with Ed and Lorraine a little bit with my own team. I met Mr. John Zaffis as their nephew when I was like 14, known him a long, long time. Fast forward now to like 1996, maybe. I knew of a gentleman, Jason Hawes, right, who's our show, Ghost Hunters,
Right.
Taps. And I started talking with him, and we'd thought about working together, but we never really did. The team back then was called RIP, Rhode Island Paranormal. Clever, right? And we kept doing our thing. And then eventually, we just joined forces, and Taps became a thing.
Right.
And then fast forward maybe 4 years later, we disproved a haunting in a court of law. And then all these newspapers got a hold of it. And then from then we had all these production companies and networks calling us and leaving us emails and saying, this should be a TV show. And we said no for about 3 years. We said no. One, nobody wanted anybody to know their house is haunted. So we're like, we can't bring a film crew. You're crazy. 2, we just thought we've been sitting in the dark for 10 hours. How is this going to be a television show? And then 3, we just weren't interested.
Yeah.
We're not TV people. These guys are plumbers. I was a police officer. It was different worlds there. But then we said, yeah, let's do it. And then the show came, and we
Right.
started filming in 2003. And the very first episode we ever filmed was in Altoona, Pennsylvania. So anybody who's watched the first season, Altoona, Pennsylvania. We went there, and we filmed a whole episode, right? And then we got back to Rhode Island, and the production company the owner of the production company didn't like anything he saw, not from us, but from his own film crew. So he fired everybody overnight, and we got a whole new film crew, and then went back to Altoona and filmed that whole episode again.
Wow.
So when you see Altoona, that was actually the second time that we did that episode. TV magic, what?
That's crazy. So you had a whole new film crew, and did they give you any special production notes? We need it to look this certain way, or there has to be a jump scare here, or did they try to zhuzh it up for TV, or what was the main issue with the footage?
No, actually, one of the reasons that we said no for quite some time was because we would tell production companies we can't produce a good, like we don't know. Like
Right.
we could film this show for a year and we might not find anything.
Mm-hmm.
And all the, they were always like, well, you got to be able to, like, that's crazy. And we're like, no. And then there was one company, Pilgrim Films, and one network, Sci-Fi, who said they literally had a meeting with us, me, Jason, Grant. Jay, and of course, is the decision maker, especially back then, but I was part of that, the meetings and whatnot. And there was one that said, we don't care about that. We'll make the show about you guys, about
Right.
what you, and so the ghosts can come and go, it doesn't matter. But everybody will be interested in what you're doing. And they held true to that. So that's when we eventually sort of said yes. So that didn't really happen. There was a lot of like learning curves, for sure. And we would have to fight a lot and like band together as a team to start, like, for instance, season 1, if you watch the first episode, first bunch, like there are like skulls that would flash and like different things that would happen. And we would tell them, like, this isn't like ours, what are you doing? And we'd have to like all band together and be like, if you keep doing this, we're not gonna show up to work, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And eventually they would, yeah. But now we're all producers in that stuff, so we have our hands in all of that. But yeah, no, they never really, no. I mean, they definitely liked it. If we went out of a case and like told the producers or whatever, because there's, producers local, hey, not much happened in there, It's not like they're like, awesome. They are a bit like, all right, well, okay, it'll still be a good episode, no problem.
Yeah.
But they never tried to like zhuzh it up.
Okay.
Yeah. No,
Well, then let me ask
never.
you this. This next one is like a two-sided coin type of question. In all the years of your experience in the paranormal, the first side of the coin would be, what's the most compelling evidence that you've ever captured? And the other side would be, what's the most compelling evidence that you didn't happen to capture on film?
Whoa. Well, evidence on, that we've been able to catch, I like personally, anytime we get full spectrum evidence or thermal, right?
Okay.
All evidence is good, but full spectrum is really good for me, and infrared, because it's the least sort of disputable type of evidence. And that's actually my favorite type of evidence to collect. If someone said, hey, what are you going to go in with? You only have one choice. I would forever and always and will choose infrared camera, as simple as it sounds,
Right.
or a full spectrum camera, as simple as it sounds, because it's multi-purpose, right? You're recording audio at the same time that you're recording video, so you're getting those two things. You're able to document anything that you catch, all your experiences, because unless you have it documented, it's just a story.
Right.
It really is. It may be a true story, but it's still just a story until you can show someone, look, it really did happen. Here's my, But so now with that, you have that covered, but if you add an infrared element, right? Now I can see everything in the visible spectrum, right? Which is red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet, right? All the colors that we can see. But now I add infrared, I can also see in the infrared spectrum. If I'm adding more like ultraviolet, ultraviolet, now I can see in the ultraviolet spectrum also. So
Yeah.
it really opens you up to a lot more things. So anytime I see evidence captured in that, if I had to say that my personal piece of evidence that we've ever caught
Yeah.
would probably be at a place called the Crescent Hotel in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, where there's a grisly son of a gun there who would do all kinds of awful things to people, like drill holes in their heads and fill them with salt and just see what happens, connect body parts under the guise that he was a real doctor.
Wow.
And he sure wasn't. But there we did catch what was the morgue at one point. Saw something on our thermal camera, and it acknowledged us and gave us a bit of a, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
And then, we turned away and went back, not there, and then we tried to disprove it for probably a week straight, never able to get to the bottom of it. And it's really compelling.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty awesome. I have a question, if you don't mind. Out of all the places, everybody's seen Ghost Hunters or Ghost Nation, one of the shows? Yeah, okay, good. Out of the places we've been, what are some of your favorites? Really? Okay, Tala. So she said Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. Really cool place. Sadly, I've been kicked out of there for life. I don't know if we
Really?
did, yes.
Why?
Awesome place. And to just give you an idea of this place, you're dealing with not just the insane or just criminals, but the criminally insane. One of the stories there is one of the patients, right? And not a real story, this is true. Took this guy and dragged him under the bed, put his head under the bedpost, jumped up and down on the bed until the guy's head popped and his eyes came out, right? It's a real story. This guy died, obviously. So that's the kind of stuff that but I was there once and was doing a talk, and a bit of a presentation. There was a good amount of people there. And then the place let people explore the building. And they were walking around with an app on their phone called Ghost Radar, right? It's just an app. It's for fun. And they were telling people, like, that's our ghost. And would, like, go around and be like, here he is over here. Look, I told you this is where. And so I pulled their staff aside. And I just, very nicely, of course, says, hey, well, I'm here. I feel like you're lying to people. This isn't true. This is hubbub. This app isn't finding a ghost. You know that. This is garbage. And instead of saying, okay, we won't this way here, they just said that I was never allowed back and was kicked out for life.
Not cool.
Bastards. I love that place.
I have a.
Thanks for bringing it up. Sir. Tombstone, Arizona. Sure did, yeah. Tombstone, Arizona. Awesome. Beautiful place. It is very much like it was. It's still preserved in time. I saw 2 different instances where people were stabbed in Tombstone. We were walking up to a bar at one point, and this guy came out, tumbled, grabbed his gut, blood was coming out, and the guy like ran out and was just like, "That's right, and if you do it, I'll stab you again." I was like, "What is going on here?" And then someone yelled for the cops and was like, "Call the cop, Jimmy got stabbed again," like it happens all the time.
Wow.
Really weird. We were in a restaurant once and saw a husband stab a wife in the arm with a fork, and then she's screaming with the fork sticking out of her arm. And then when security came, she like yelled at security for her husband, "Don't touch him, that's my baby." It's like,
wow.
That guy just put a fork in your arm. Like,
That's toxic.
But aside from that stuff, Tombstone, very, very, very haunted. Birdcage Theater we did. We did the OK Corral, and then after we were done, they told us that this isn't actually the OK Corral. This is a reconstruction. The OK Corral is down the street. So I said, well, this is garbage. You can't, this is.
Yeah.
So we found out where the actual OK Corral was, which is now just a residential neighborhood. And we lined up all those houses where it once stood, and we investigated all the houses where it really was. But yeah, Birdcage Theater, Tombstone, really, really awesome. There was we got really friendly. A lot of police officers love our show, and I think maybe because they knew that I was at one time a police officer or whatnot, I'm not sure. But we had a cop that was really attached to us at this place. Loved us, and he was outside. I'm going to swear. I'm sorry for this young man down here, but it's part of the story. Maybe he can do one of these things. So it says, he's out there. This car slows down and yells out the window at us, "Ghost Hunters sucks." No big deal. Hear that all the time. I don't care. "Ghost Adventures rule." We're like, oh, I still don't care. But the cop goes, "What the fuck did he say?" And he was like, "Not in my town." And he hopped in his cruiser and took off. And then he came back like 40 minutes later, and his hair was like all messed up, and his tie was like off to the side. And we're like, what happened? And he's like, "Guarantee they're not going to watch that show anymore." And we're like, "What did you do?" And he just like disappeared. Like, what is happening? But Tombstone, the point of that is it still is very, very lawless out there, and very haunted. Yeah. Sorry, that's fun.
No, that was good. Do we have any other questions about the show? Any just questions in general? Let's go right here. Hi.
Well, I probably do, but the amount of times that Amy, Adam, and I have investigated a haunted mansion together. Is quite so. I don't know which one. Perhaps you might be. The one I think you might be talking about is called Seaview Terrace, but I could be wrong. In Rhode Island, I could. It's in Newport. Then that's probably the one you're talking about. Seaview Terrace. Yeah. Yep. Beautiful place. Awesome. We investigated there. Quite honestly, the only thing I remember about it is I fell out of a cot and like busted my elbow up. I don't remember much else about it. I'm sorry. But it's beautiful. I'm trying to think what happened there. I'm in a sad position, and a sad thing to say to people were that, like, unless they're talked about quite often, or I remember specifically, a lot of them kind of like blend together, unless you know it like a specific thing to ask about or a specific. So what's it like to pair up with other like paranormal teams and investigate with them? It's always a lot of fun. If it's a television team, the good chance is that I'm very, very close with them. So it's like we just have so much fun. Because all the other television shows, I'm very close with all of them. Not just like surface close, but very, very, very close. We all hang out, we all get together, whether it be Ghost Brothers, Ghost Adventures, Kindred Spirit, it doesn't matter. We're all buddies. Some closer than others. Juan and I are super close. Tango, well, same show, so it doesn't count, but he's my best friend. Amy and Adam, we hang out all the time. The Destination Fear Gang, Project Fear, like, love those guys. I'm very, 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 very close with them. Yeah, so we all get along. Non-televised can be a little weird sometimes, like just like local groups. They're always usually really friendly, but sometimes they get a little, like, I don't know, like maybe I don't know. That gets a little tricky sometimes. And then there are people who aren't on teams who they pair us with sometimes. Like we've had a lot of wrestlers, which has been great and not so great. We've had recently a figure skater, Johnny Weir, was with us, who was actually awesome. He was so nice, so cool, so fun. Yeah, we've had a lot of Meatloaf is somebody that we became very, very close with, and that was fun. It was sad, he passed, but that was awesome. He was a dreamboat, cream puff, sweetheart of a guy, and just to sit around and let him regale you with stories, it was some of the best times. So anytime he came around was awesome, and it's kind of funny how like it happened with Meatloaf anyway. Is he didn't go through a network or production company. He would just like send emails to the TAP's website, like, "Hey, it's Meatloaf. I want to talk to you guys." And we, for probably 2 years, just ignored it, like, get out of here. And then one day we get a call from Sci-Fi, and they're like, "Answer your phone, like it really is Meatloaf. Like, what are you guys doing?" And then he was like, and people think like it was a weird team up, or they were just doing it to like have someone famous with us or whatever. But he is a real, not real in the sense that that's what he does, but he was in a paranormal group, a team when he was in college.
Wow,
he
cool.
really investigated, and he loved it. I was trying to get Sid Haig on the show for a little while.
Oh, wow, yeah.
He was, I don't know how many people know this, but he was a remote viewer, and he practiced remote viewing all the time. And he was dealing with a haunting that I counseled him through, him and his girl or wife. I actually don't know if they're married, excuse me. And they were dealing with something really nasty. And just through that relationship, was trying to get him, and it may have happened, but sadly he passed. But yeah, it's always fun when we get teamed up with people, as long as they're cool. There have been some people that were like, why? CM Punk was not very nice, not very cool. But then what's interesting is he must realize, because I saw an interview with him about 2 years ago, where somebody asked him, they were like, "So, it says on your, we know that you were in like an episode of Ghost Hunters. What was that like?" And he straight up is just like, looked into the camera and he's like, I'm sorry, guys. He's like, I was an asshole. He's like, I don't know what my problem was. He's like, but I need to apologize to each one of you right now. And I saw that and I was like, okay, that's cool. That's actually really awesome. So he's got a thumbs up in my book, where I would love to have him again if he was into it. Yeah, it's always weird. It's also weird when like people who are super famous and you just get weirded out. Like we've had like Ellen DeGeneres try to have us go out, and like Jay Leno, all these different people, and it's like, who's that? From beyond. Voices from beyond. It's Ellen. What'd you say? I'm not. Like she's coming out. That was good timing too. But yeah, but she didn't want to be on the show. She just wanted us to come and investigate her house, which I don't know. I remember having a phone call with Jay, and we're just like, I don't know. I don't fly, so I was like, I'm not going to drive all the way to California. I mean, I would because she's awesome, or apparently she's not so awesome. But she was always nice to me, so I don't know.
And you don't fly, but you drive everywhere. And Jay has like an extensive car collection. Did you get to see any of his cars or anything?
No, never met him, never talked to him. No.
That would have been cool.
I just knew that would be cool.
Oh well.
Well,
All right,
well.
Any other questions
Hey.
about? Oh.
Yes. That's St. Augustine Lighthouse. Yeah. Beautiful place, and in my opinion, very, very haunted, right? Anybody familiar with that episode, just peel back a little of the curtain there. The first time we went to St. Augustine, or that time, we weren't even supposed to investigate the lighthouse. We were going to investigate somewhere else. And once we got there, that place that we were going to investigate told us that no matter what, we had to say that it was haunted, and we don't. At least we don't do that. So we declined. We said, well, we're not going to. And the production company was a little weird. They're like, we spent so much money to line all this up. We're like, we don't care. Like, we're not going to. And so then they said, okay, fine. You have the week off, which was awesome. We had a week off in St. Augustine, and it was all the local folks who were coming up to us saying, you guys need to check out the lighthouse. And that's how we ended up investigating the lighthouse. So we did. We investigated the lighthouse, and it was awesome. Beautiful town, very, very haunted, supposedly.
That's
I've
what
had
they
some
say.
experiences
They
there.
do all the ghost tours
Yeah.
and all that stuff over there.
I did get to go into the light of the lighthouse, which to me, I'm afraid of heights. I don't do things like that. Excuse me. But the woman who, at the time, ran all of the lighthouse, she said, hey, if you can get up to the top, I'll let you go into the light, like into the lens. And I said, I don't know about that. She said, if you can do it, it'll change your life. You have to do it. She said, I can count on one hand the amount of people who've been in that lens, right?
Wow.
And I don't know if you know how a lighthouse works, at least one of that size. It's exactly right. There's a lens that just continuously spins. There's a little hole that's cut out in the side of it. And you have to, it never stops. And you have to time it just right to jump into that little hole. And then you're in the middle of the lens. And you can't touch anything because it's all glass. If you touch it, the oils from your fingers will crack it all. And then it's, she said there's like like $500,000.
Wow.
And so, I don't want to do that. So I get up there, and I did time it just right. And I jumped right into the light. Not into the light, but into the actual lens. So I stood there, and I don't know how to explain it other than absolutely, totally breathtaking. All of a sudden, the whole night cityscape of St. Augustine was kaleidoscoping around me and swirling all around me. And it was amazing. But yeah, and then I got out of there. Another thing that's beautiful, and I only say this because I don't know anyone else that's ever done it. Anyone ever drove through a rainbow? Driven through a rainbow?
You never get to the end of it.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Trying to find the pot of gold, and I never find the end of the rainbow.
I fucking looked. It's not there. But in any case, driving. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. I forget. I forget it's a kids show. I'm glad he has something to. Yeah. So What was I saying? What was it?
The rainbow.
Yeah, thank
Driving
you.
through the rainbow.
So we're driving. This is what made me is Tombstone. This is when we were at Tombstone, driving. Me, my buddy Tango, and our sound guy, and another dude. And we're in one of the Yukons, and we're going and going, and we see there's a huge, beautiful rainbow in the distance. Gorgeous. And we're driving. We're going down, and notice, like, is it going over the road? No. Get closer. It is going right over the highway. Okay. The bottom is there. I always thought the bottom just hovered way up.
Yeah.
The bottom went all the way down to the ground. And we could see it. It's like, okay, awesome. And it's the honest to God truth. We get closer. Now it's there. And we drove through it. And for 1 second, everything in the car was sparkly and glittery and what they call omniprismatic. Every color of the rainbow was bouncing around inside the car and around us.
Wow.
All of us instantly started going, holy shit, do you see that's what's happening? What? And then we were out of it instantly. And I never knew it was possible. It was absolutely magical. So if you ever see a rainbow in the distance, track it down, try to go through it. But I promise you, there is no gold.
That may have been the most compelling one never caught on film. Who knows?
Full circle.
It
I
could
like
be.
that.
Yeah, there you go.
Shit.
And this has been a lot of fun. You've been telling us a lot of fun stories about your life with ghosts, and of course, your book, A Life with Ghosts.
Yes, thank you.
Let's just talk about that for a moment. What can we look forward to in reading that?
Yeah, Life with Ghosts, a book. You can get it anywhere that you buy your books, Barnes & Nobles or whatever, anywhere, Amazon, wherever. It really goes into what we do, but much deeper than a show can. You know,
Yeah.
really, really deep into it. A lot of different facets of what we do than what is in a show. I also wanted to show people that it's not always death and tragedy, and that's way more fun, quite honestly. But hauntings can also come from love. You know, devotion can come from all kinds of different things. And I also wanted to pay some respect to, you know, it's fun to run around and look for these ghosts, and it's very easy to forget that very likely they were me, they were you, you know, with lives, and here we are in their death, everything they've gone through, just, you know, and I wanted to make sure we remembered to respect them. And then a last sort of little facet of it was how you can really learn things, or what I've kind of learned through the paranormal that I've been able to, you know, implement into my own life. And that's mostly just history-based, because it's sort of like, you know, don't try it because it didn't work out so good for him, you know, that kind of thing. Or do you see where that led her? She's dead now. Like, let's not do that.
Yeah.
So you can learn a lot about life going through in that regard. So yeah, that's thank you for asking. That's what that book is about. If you like to read, please. If you like to listen, Audible, right?
Yeah.
If you don't like the book, keep your opinion to yourself. 5-star reviews only.
Yeah.
It's all that I will accept. Just kidding, obviously.
All right, well, we look forward to more stories of ghost hunting. Of course, your book, A Life with Ghosts. And, of course, thank you so much for being here with us this weekend.
Thank
it's been
you,
amazing,
gang.
fun, and
Very
informative.
cool.
Big round of applause one more time for our guest, Steve Gonsalves.
Hey-o. Thank you.